Hare Krishna. Welcome to this episode of Bhagavad Gita. Today we will be discussing chapter 7, text 11 of Bhagavad Gita. The title of this live stream is Sex Life, Religious versus Irreligious. Alright, we will say our Mangalacharan prayers and then we will proceed on with the session. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sandho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sandhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you all very much. So today's verse will be 7.11 of Bhagavad Gita. This was quoted many times by Srila Prabhupada, especially the last two lines. Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. Balam, strength. Balavatam, of the strong. Cha, and. Aham, I am. Kama, passion. Raga, and attachment. Vivarjitam, devoid of. Dharma aviruddha, not against religious principles. Bhuteshu, in all beings. Kamaha, sex life. Asmi, I am. Bharata Rishabha, or together Bharatarshabha, O Lord of the Bharatas. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles, O Lord of the Bharatas, Arjuna. Purport. The strong man's strength should be applied to protect the weak, not for personal aggression. Similarly, sex life, according to religious principles or dharma, should be for the propagation of children, not otherwise. The responsibility of parents is then to make their offspring Krishna conscious. So, there's a lot to unpack here, especially considering today's situation in Kali Yuga. So here Krishna is saying Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam. So the strength which is not applied for personal passion and personal aggrandizement or personal gratification or to assert oneself or aggression, in other words, that strength is a representation of Krishna. That strength which is used for personal aggression, um, you know, full of kama and raga, attachment and lust, that such lusty display of strength is not accepted by Krishna. Of course, it is also coming from Krishna. Everything is coming from Krishna. But it is not that Krishna wants somebody to become evil. No. According to one's association with the modes of material nature, one will acquire the qualities, and if one is predominantly in the mode of ignorance, then he will be very destructive, and that is evil. So, evil is nothing but a predominance of the mode of ignorance. So, godly life means the predominance of a goodness. Especially in the spiritual transcendental platform, it is Shuddha Sattva, transcendental goodness. So, strength which is applied in that way to protect the weak, that is a representation of Krishna. Similarly, sex life, dharma aviruddha bhuteshu. Sex life is not denied in Krishna consciousness, but it is to be regulated. It is to be used in Krishna's service, and that involves regulation. Now, what is dharma viruddha bhuteshu? Kamosmi bharatarshambha. What is dharma viruddha kama? At least Hindus, they know, at least some of them, they know. Those who are followers of Sanatana Dharma, there are Chatur Purusharthas, 4 things that a human being should aspire for in a Pravritti Marga lifestyle, religious lifestyle, but it's still based on sense gratification. It is in Bhagavatam, it is referred to as Kaitava Dharma or cheating religion, cheating religious principles, which are not ahaituki. Hetu means cause. Ahaituki means causeless or without any motive, not for some, not following some principles for some motive. No, it is just without any motive. Ahaituki. Kamaraga vivarjitam. So, display of strength, of course, in the purport it is mentioned to protect the weak. Now, weak means, that is a broad definition. Weak, yes, physically if somebody is weak, then they have to be protected by people who are strong. But also, those who are weak spiritually, they have to be protected by people who are strong spiritually. So, it is the duty of those who are strongly situated in spiritual life to benefit all those who are weak. That is real strength. So that's why devotees should always preach, should always reach out to the weak and elevate them to Krishna consciousness. There is physical strength, there is emotional strength, there is mental strength, there is influential strength, there is political strength. So strength on different levels, and the strength of the strong means in all these levels. When one exhibits some strength in any of these aspects, that is a representation of Krishna, provided it is used rightly. And if a person has spiritual strength, he will automatically have mental strength, intellectual strength, physical strength also, in the sense that one will be healthy if he is spiritually awake. That means if he is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically his life is regulated, he lives in the mode of goodness. Now, of course, there is the brute strength, physical strength, but at least one will be healthy, even if he is not of brute force, brute strength. But a Kshatriya, of course, has a lot of strength. Hiranyakashipu's body was compared to a stone. Shilatanka Nakhalai. His chest was like a stone. So a Kshatriya is supposed to be like that. His body should be as strong as stone. So, but what is the use of such strength if we are not spiritually strong? Like Ravana, he was very powerful, Hiranyakashipu very powerful, but spiritually they were very weak. And because of such weakness, they ultimately lost. So, who is actually strong? Prahlad Maharaj or Hiranyakashipu? Hiranyakashipu is Shilatanka Nakhalaya. Shilatanka means, chest is like a stone. Prahlad Maharaj did not do any such, austerities or training, military art or nothing. He was just chanting Narayan, Narayan. Hare Krishna he was chanting. So, who is stronger? So, in the end, who died? So, Hiranyakashipu died. And because the devotee, he depends on the strength of Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj depended on the strength of Narasimhadev. So, real strength comes from the Lord. There is a nice verse by Arjuna. I've shown this before. I think 1:15-16. He actually remembers Prahlad Maharaj. Yaddosuma pranihitam guru bhishma karna naptrigarta shalya saindhava bahlikadhyaihi astranyamogha mahimani nirupitani nopasprushur narahari dasamivāsurāni. Great generals, Arjuna is saying, great generals like Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Bhurishrava, Susharma, Shalya, Jayadratha and Bahlika all directed their invincible weapons against me. But by his or Lord Krishna's grace, they could not even touch a hair on my head. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, the supreme devotee of Lord Narasimhadev, was unaffected by the weapons the demons used against him. So even physically, if Krishna wills so, a devotee can be empowered. Prahlad Maharaj has no physical strength apparently, but you see how much tribulations he endured. Without any, it was not like he was suffering, no. Same with Haridas Thakur. He did not practice any martial arts. But when they were the Mlechas, Yavanas, they were whipping him in 22 marketplaces, he did not die. Nothing. In fact, he felt no pain at all. Because yatra yogeshwarah Krishna, yatra partha dhanurdhara, tatra shrir vijayo bhutir dhruvani tirmatir mama. Last verse of Bhagavad Gita says that wherever there is Krishna and wherever there is Arjuna, that means wherever there is Krishna and his devotees, all success and a victory, everything will be there. Now, a person who has acquired strength in this world by austerity. Now, for example, bodybuilders and in this martial artists, they gain bodily strength by a lot of austerity. Now, in that sense, maybe they can be considered a yogi. Not exactly, but a lot of at least tapasvi. They are tapasvi. But Yogeshwara, yogi, one may be a master yogi, but Yogeshwar nobody can compete with. Krishna is Yogeshwara. He is the Lord of all yoga. So when he protects his devotee, such devotee, Mare Krishna Rakhe Krishna Mare ke. If Krishna wants to kill someone, who can protect him? If Krishna wants to save someone, who can kill him? Hiranyakashipu tried to save himself, but Krishna wanted to kill him. He could not be protected. And Hiranyakashipu tried to kill his son in so many ways, Prahlad Maharaj, so many ways, but he was protected because the Lord so willed. So it all depends ultimately on the Lord. And if one has the benediction or the favor of Krishna in the form of some strength, whether it be physical, mental or emotional or spiritual, that should be used to protect the weak. That is the proper usage of strength. So, Kama Raga Vivarjitam, where there is who is devoid of, in today's, actually, honestly, one more verse. In the Bhagavad Gita 1.14 purport, there is this verse, Jayastu Pandu Putranam Yesham Pakshe Janardana. Wherever there is Krishna, all victory is there on that side. So because Krishna was on Pandava's side, Pandavas were victorious. I actually wanted to show another verse. I had another verse on my mind when I was explaining this particular verse, this Arjuna's verse. About strength, but what it was, I forgot about what I was going to say regarding that verse. So anyway, the point is, yes, this is what I wanted to show. Now, spiritual strength. Balaram is the source of spiritual strength. Balaram is the first expansion of Krishna. Now, before we go there, I want to show another verse. This is another verse I wanted to show. See, Tenikapa Raghupaterabhipatya sarve Dvandvam varothamibhapatti rathashvayodhai Jagnurdrumair girigadeshu bhirangadadhyah Sita bhimarshahata mangala ravaneshan. You see, Angada and other commanders of the soldiers of Ramachandra faced the elephants, infantry, horses and chariots of the enemy and hurled against them big trees, mountain peaks, clubs and arrows. Thus the soldiers of Lord Ramachandra killed Ravana's soldiers who had lost all good fortune because Ravana had been condemned by the anger of Mother Sita. Now, in the purport there is important commentation on this by Srila Prabhupada. See, he says, the soldiers Lord Ramachandra recruited in the jungle were all monkeys and did not have proper equipment with which to fight the soldiers of Ravana. For Ravana's soldiers were equipped with weapons of modern warfare, whereas the monkeys could only throw stones, mountain peaks and trees. Now, Ravana's son defeated Indrajit, Meghanath. I mean, look at the level of his expertise, and what to speak of Ravana, who is the father of such a person. The heavenly demigods could not stand against even the son of Ravana. That was their sophistication in their military power. And you see, for Ravana's soldiers were equipped with weapons of modern warfare. In fact, even modern 21st century warfare is nowhere even remotely close to Ravana's army, the power of Ravana's army. But it was only Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman who shot some arrows. Everybody else was throwing stones. But because the soldiers of Ravana were condemned by the curse of Mother Sita, the monkeys were able to kill them simply by throwing stones and trees. Again, strength. Who was strong? Of course, by calculation, Ravana's soldiers were strong. But in the end, those who were not so strong turned out to be victorious. How come? Because Mother Sita curse. There are two kinds of strength. This is what I wanted to show. There are two kinds of strength, Daiva and Purushakara. Daiva refers to the strength achieved from the transcendence, and Purushakara refers to the strength organized by one's own intelligence and power. You see? Transcendental power is always superior to the power of the materialist. This is very, very important. Transcendental power is always superior to the power of the materialist. Depending on the mercy of the Supreme Lord, one must fight one's enemies even though one may not be equipped with modern weapons. Therefore, Krishna instructed Arjuna, Mam anusmara yudhyacha, think of me and fight. We should fight our enemy to the best of our ability, but for victory we must depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, this is the thing. It is not because we are, trying to serve Krishna, so we will be always victorious. Our victory is that we are serving Krishna. Our victory is not whether the result will come out favorable or unfavorable. No. Like Jatayu, he was a vulture and he fought for Ramachandra. But he lost. Ravana killed him. Lost, right? He was not victorious. Or he was on the side of Ram. But Ravana won against a devotee. A demon won against a devotee. What is this? No. So, Jatayu was so successful that Ram and Lakshman, the Supreme Personalities of Godhead themselves, ran to him to give him the last rites. In fact, not just last rites, to give him darshan as he was leaving this body. Not that he was trying to remember the Lord ran to him. Of course, externally, I'm sorry, I think there is some lag in the video and audio. I'm sorry about that. I hope it is still acceptable standard. So, what I was saying is, externally it looks like Ram and Lakshman were, running to find Sita. But let's sit back and think for a second. Ram and Lakshman are the Supreme Personalities of Godhead themselves. Don't they know where Sita is? What is the meaning of Antaryami? What is the meaning of Paramatma? He knows. Lord Ramachandra knows very well where Sita is. But, so it looks like they were in the search for Sita and then they met by chance. They met Jatayu by chance. But actually, the real thing is that they knew where Sita is. Of course, they were putting on this ecstasy of separation, Vipralambha. But, in effect, they ran to Jatayu. They ran to Jatayu to give him darshan at the final moment of his passing away. And they conducted his funeral rites. I mean, if Krishna can come directly, forcefully, Krishna himself running to the devotee to show darshan at that final moment, just like Bhishmadev. Krishna went to Bhishmadev. He was lying somewhere on the battlefield. He was a great devotee, lying somewhere on the battlefield, on the bed of arrows. Everybody left the battlefield, lost. Kauravas lost. And he was just lying down on the bed of arrows and that's it. Neglected. Nobody would have even seen him. But Krishna went all the way there on the pretext of teaching Yudhishthir Maharaj or consoling Yudhishthir Maharaj. Krishna tried to console him. Yudhishthir Maharaj could not be consoled even by Krishna. And he said, only Bhishmadev can console you. Then they all came to visit Bhishmadev. So pretext was something else. But in the end, of course, Krishna, it's not pretext, it is doing many things at the same time. Doing that and doing this, everything at the same time. So the main thing was that Bhishmadev was given the darshan at the final moment when he was leaving this body. And he was speaking on religious principles at length. Bhishma Parva of the Mahabharata. And then finally he left the body in the presence of the Lord. That is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 9th chapter. So, the Lord is personally giving darshan to such devotees. So, is that a success or a failure? Now, his mission may be seemingly a failure. Externally, it looks like a failure. But the success is that we have the devotee, in this case Jatayu, he has given his life for Krishna or Ramachandra Bhagavan. So, that is a success. But that such service, since the result depends on Krishna, I will just do whatever minimum I can, anyway Krishna is there. No. Krishna can give, but he can also choose not to give. Our thing is not whether that thing happens or does not happen. It how seriously and how sincerely we serve the Lord. That is what matters. And That verse is there, no, in the Varaha Purana, where it is said that Krishna personally comes and incarnates in the mind of a devotee. What is that verse? Forgot the verse. Please, if you can help me in the comment section with that verse, where Krishna says, if my devotee does not remember, I will incarnate in the mind of my devotee. Anyway, I'm unable to recollect those exact. Yeah. यदि वातादि दोषेण मद्भक्तः न च मां स्मरेत् अहं स्मरामि मद्भक्तो what is that? अहं स्मरामि मद्भक्तो नयामि परमागतिम. Yes, नयामि परमागतिम. So this is the verse from, this is the, as it is mentioned here in the by Radhika Sakhi Mataji. यदि वातादि दोषेण मद्भक्तो न च मां स्मरेत् अहं स्मरामि मद्भक्तो नयामि परमागतिम. So, even if my devotee does not remember at the time of death, if he does not remember me, but who in his whole life has served Krishna, I will remember my devotee and I will, take him. So that is done. You see? In other words, our success or failure is that we have to be engaged in Krishna's service. That is real success. Now, you see here, transcendental power is always superior to the power of the materialist. This is called Daiva. What is that? Daiva Shakti and Purushakara Shakti. Purushakara Shakti means, strength organized by one's own intelligence and power. Now, let me show you another verse in the Bhagavad Gita about this. 1.9. Say 8. 7. Let's say 7. Starts with 7, 8, 9. I will show you this. Duryodhan, after estimating the strength of the Pandavas, he then began to count all the great not acharyas archers of his own army. He said, Asmakam tu vishishtaye tan nibodha dvijottama nayaka mama sainyasya samgyartham tan bravimite. But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. The Kauravas had a much bigger army than the Pandavas. Not only bigger army in quantity, but also by quality. The quality of warriors on the Kauravas side was far superior to that of the Pandavas side. On the Pandavas side, the greatest of warriors were Bhima and Arjuna. Krishna was there, but did not fight. On the other side, there were others also, Satyaki and Drishtadyumna and all that, but none of them were any close. Bhima and Arjuna were the most feared warriors of the Pandava side, whereas on the other side, we have Bhishma, Karna, Drona, Ashwathama, Jayadratha. I mean, it's just, you can't even imagine the kind of strength they have. So, then he says, Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripacharya. Kripascha Samitim Jayah Ashwathama Vikarnascha Saumadattis Tathaivacha. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, personalities like you. You means Dronacharya here. Duryodhana was speaking to Dronacharya. Personalities like you, Dronacharya, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle. Now, अन्ये च बहवः शूरा मदर्थे त्यक्तजीविताः नाना शस्त्र प्रहरणाः सर्वे युद्ध विशारदाः. Yuddha Visharada means, Visharada means Pandit, vastly learned. So Yuddha Visharada means experienced in military science, vastly experienced. Visharad means, it's vast knowledge of fighting. So they were very, very experienced in military science. Yuddha Visharada. Now, there are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake, Duryodhana was saying. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons and all are experienced in the military science. Now, purport. As far as the others are concerned, like Jayadratha, Kritavarma and Shalya, all are determined to lay down their lives for Duryodhana's sake. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. Duryodhana was of course confident of his victory on account of the above mentioned combined strength of his friends. So this is called Purushakara Shakti. Or in other words, Purushakara Shakti refers to the strength organized by one's own intelligence and power. So Duryodhana gathered his military strength by his own intelligence and power. This is Purushakara Shakti, whereas Pandavas had Daiva Shakti. Jayastu Pandaputranam Yesham Pakshet Janardana. So, in the case of Duryodhana, he was using his strength for Kama and Raga, for his attachment, for his lust. Whereas the Pandavas were using their strength for Krishna's sake. So this is different. So this is the difference in strength. Balam balavatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam. So that is about strength. Now, about spiritual strength, about those who are spiritually strong, they have to help those who are spiritually weak. We are talking about strength at different levels. This was military strength or diplomatic or political strength. Not exactly political. Here it was diplomatic. Military strength. But if we talk about spiritual strength now, so we have to understand that spiritual strength comes from Balram. Now here, Yavan nirkaya rathamatma vashopakalpam dhatte garishta charanarchanaya nishatam jnanasimachyuta balo dadhadasta shatru svananda tushta upashanta idam vijahyat. As long as one has to accept a material body with its different parts and paraphernalia, which are not fully under one's control, one must have the lotus feet of his superiors, namely his spiritual master and the spiritual master's predecessors. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge, and with the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's mercy, one must then conquer the enemies mentioned above. In this way, the devotee should be able to merge into his own transcendental bliss, and then he may give up his body and resume his spiritual identity. Now, if you see Achyuta Balaha, by the transcendental strength of Krishna. So the strength, we are talking about strength, Balam Balavatam Chaham, Achyuta Balaha. Two things, by the transcendental strength of Krishna, that is, Achyuta means Krishna, Bala means strength. But also Achyuta Bala means Krishna and Balaram. Achyuta means Krishna, Bala means Balaram, Baladev. So by the mercy of Krishna and Balaram, so that is explained here. A significant word here is Achyuta Balaha. The spiritual master is certainly very merciful to his disciples, and consequently, by satisfying him, a devotee gets strength from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual master is actually representative of Balaram, and by serving him, we will get the spiritual strength. He is a representative of Balaram. And consequently, by satisfying him, a devotee gets strength from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Guru Krishna prasade paya bhaktilata bija. One must first please the spiritual master, and then one automatically pleases Krishna and gets the strength with which to cross the ocean of nescience. If one seriously desires to return home back to Godhead, one must therefore become strong enough by pleasing the spiritual master. So how to become strong? By pleasing spiritual master. For thus one gets the weapon with which to conquer the enemy, and one also gets the grace of Krishna. Simply getting the weapon of jnana is insufficient. One must sharpen the weapon by serving the spiritual master, by adhering to his instructions. Then the candidate will get the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In general warfare, one must take help from his chariot and horses in order to conquer his enemy, and after conquering his enemies, he may give up the chariot and its paraphernalia. Similarly, as long as one has a human body, one should fully utilize it to obtain the highest perfection of life, namely going back home, back to Godhead. Now, apart from this, there is also this mention of, where is that? Significant in this verse are the words Jnanasim Achyuta Balaha. Jnanasam, the sword of knowledge, is given by Krishna. And when one serves the Guru and Krishna in order to hold the sword of Krishna's instructions, Balaram gives one strength. Balaram is Nityananda. Vrajendra Nandana Jai Shachisuta Hoilo Shei. Balaram Hoilo Nitai. This Balaram comes with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and both of them are so merciful that in this age of Kali, one may very easily take shelter of their lotus feet. Achyuta Balaha, in the form of Gauranitai. They come especially to deliver the fallen souls of this age. Papi tapi jata chilo, hariname uddharila. Their weapon is Sankirtan, Harinam. Thus one should accept the sword of knowledge from Krishna and be strong with the mercy of Balaram. We are therefore worshipping Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan. In the Mundaka Upanishad it is said, Nayamatma balahine labhyo nacha pramadat tapaso vapyalingat etairupayair yatate yastu vidvams tasyaisha atma vishate brahmadhama. Nayamatma balahine labhyo. One cannot attain the goal of life without the mercy of Balaram. Balahina means very weak. Very weak. Balahina means without strength. One cannot attain the goal of life without the mercy of Balaram. Here we are talking about spiritual strength. Sri Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Nitayar Karuna Have Braje Radha Krishna Pave. When one receives the mercy of Balaram Nityananda, one can attain the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna very easily. Shei Sambandha Nahi Jar Britha Janma Gelatar. Vidya Kule Ki Koribetar. If one has no connection with Nitai, Balaram, then even though one is a very learned scholar or jnani, or has taken birth in a very respectable family, these assets will not help him. We must therefore conquer the enemies of Krishna consciousness with the strength received from Balaram. Now, on this verse, this Mundaka Upanishad verse, Srila Prabhupada once in one of his lectures, he quoted that this Vivekananda, he saw this verse and he said, Nayamatma balahinena labhyo. That means to advance in spiritual life, we need strength. We need to become physically stout and strong. When we are healthy and hearty and strong, then we can execute spiritual life very easily. So for spiritual life for him is just work, like what is this? Work for work's sake, so-called karma yoga. So it's all misunderstood version of these verses. So he said to advance spiritually, we must be materially strong first. Bodily strength should be there. So that is not supported. Not that one should become stout and strong bodily. No. Well, Hiranyakashipu was stout and strong. He was Shilatanka. His body was like a stone. But Narasimhadev just opened it as if it is some wasp, some insect. Like a child plays with the insect and then dissects it, bifurcates it, like that. He just played with him, toyed with him. So that is Krishna. For him, what is strength? He is the strongest. So, real strength is this. So, when one is not strong, then Arjuna, that's what happened to him. You see what Krishna said to Arjuna in the second chapter. Klaibyam asmaka mahpartha naitatvayupapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. Klaibyam means impotence. Klibaha means eunuch. Klaibyam means importance, those who are important. Masmaka mahpartha, do not yield to this degrading importance, O son of Pritha. It does not become you. And the word here is kshudram hridaya daurbalyam, weakness of the heart, petty weakness of the heart. Kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktva. Give up this thing, give up this weakness of the heart. So how to give up this weakness? How to get the strength? Nayamatma balahinena labhya, by Balaram's mercy. So what is this? Sambandha jnana. What did Krishna do to make Arjuna strong in his conviction? Yes, I will fight. That made Arjuna to think, yes, I will fight. In the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Karishe vachanam tava. Yes, I will do whatever you say. And Krishna was asking him to fight. In the beginning, he was not. He was so indecisive, and he could not figure out what is good for him anymore. On one side, he knows he is a Kshatriya, he should fight. On the other side, he is fighting with his own kinsmen. So, what is the whole goal of fighting? So, in this way, he was unable to make a decision, unable to come to a conclusion of what to do with his life. And that is the result of Hridaya Daurbalyam, Kshudram Hridaya Daurbalyam, petty weakness of heart. So, we give importance to petty things and we get attached to them and we become weak. So, what did Krishna do to strengthen him? Spoke Bhagavad Gita. And what is Bhagavad Gita? It is a Sambandha Jnana. And of course, Abhidheya is also there, how to engage. But especially Sambandha. To understand. That's why philosophy is very important. There is one other nice verse about strength, spiritual strength. We have shown this a few times. So you see, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila 25.278. Jai Lila Amrita Vine Khai Jadi Anna Pane Tabe Bhakte Durbala Jivana Char Ek Bindu Pane Utfulita Tanumane Hase Gai Koroye Nartana. Durbala Jivana, life becomes weakened. Again Durbala, lack of strength. What causes lack of strength? You see here, interesting, because food usually nourishment, food gives nourishment and strength, and we become strong if we eat the right food. But here, translation, men become strong and stout by eating sufficient grains, but the devotee who simply eats ordinary grains but does not taste the transcendental pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Krishna gradually becomes weak and falls down from the transcendental position. However, if one drinks but a drop of the nectar of Krishna's pastimes, his body and mind begin to bloom and he begins to laugh, sing and dance. You see, sometimes people may be very strong physically but mentally totally gone. Like in those days there was this, even still he's alive, Mike Tyson. He's a boxer, a very ferocious boxer. Now his punches were one of the strongest in the world, but physically he was very strong. But mentally, he went into a lot of crime, he did a lot of nonsense. Now the thing is, just eating, that is not. And if devotees, here it is said that even if devotees just eat, now prasadam is good, yes, but if we just eat but don't read Prabhupada's books, then gradually becomes weak and falls down from the transcendental position. However, if one drinks but a drop of the nectar of Krishna's pastime, even a little bit you read every day, his body and mind begin to bloom. That is the effect. A devotee, if he is enthusiastic, if he reads Prabhupada's books, he will always remain enthusiastic. But those who don't, they are the ones who will have so many problems. And when life hits and when life tests our real strength, we should be able to stand our ground in our devotional service. If we can't, that means we are weak. Let Maya throw whatever she wants at me. Krishna, I am not going to leave your lotus feet. Prabhupada, I am not going to leave your lotus feet. This is strength. No matter, like Pandavas, everything went so-called against them. Yes, they were victorious in the end, but after a whole life of tribulations. But they never felt the tribulations. They never even asked Krishna to save them from these tribulations. But Krishna saved them. And they were happy wherever they were, whether in the forest, whether in the palace, whether on the battlefield, wherever. They were doing their duty. So they were always Krishna conscious. So in purport, you see, all the devotees connected with the Krishna consciousness movement must read all the books that have been translated. What are the books? Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and others. Otherwise, after some time, they will simply eat, sleep, and fall down from their position. Thus, they will miss the opportunity to attain an eternal blissful life of transcendental pleasure. If we don't read, we will become weak. So, this spiritual strength comes from constantly associating with Krishna by chanting his name, by hearing his pastimes, by listening to the lectures on his topic, and by engaging our body in his service. Always in connection. Even if we engage our body in service, we have to have that hearing going on, reading going on at all costs. That will keep us strong. I have seen many times, those who don't read, they cannot last. A situation will come, it doesn't have to be a very big situation. It can topple them from the spiritual life. I'm saying them as if it's third person and not applies to me. It also applies to me, but we have to just be careful. If you're not careful, if you're not reading every day, we can be just assured, we can rest assured that we at one point will leave Krishna consciousness if we are not reading. It's not just like saying, oh, please read, no, if you don't read, there's 100% chance that one will fall away from Krishna consciousness. He is sure to fall away. It's just a matter of time. And even if he so-called hangs in, he hangs in by a thread. Not with the full understanding, not with the full right mood, not with the right mindset, with full ego and so much passion and ignorance. So it takes not much to topple that person from Krishna consciousness. It doesn't take much. A simple incident can then throw him off. So we have to stay steadfast. No matter what, I am not leaving. That's it. That should be the thing. And pray to Krishna. Not out of pride, nobody can touch me. No. I am not leaving. Krishna, you do whatever you want. Please protect me. And not just praying to Krishna is not enough. And when Krishna is giving the protection, and if I don't take it, what kind of a sincerity I have? When I ask Krishna, please protect me, and Krishna has let the rope down, the Shravan Kirtan process, the association of devotees. When I don't hold on to the rope, the entire system of devotional service given to us by Srila Prabhupada, if you don't hold on to the program, then just saying that, oh Krishna, please protect me, won't help. It's just an insincere cry for help. If somebody is crying from the well, and if somebody lets down the rope, he holds on to the rope. That means he is interested in his own deliverance, he wants to come out. But if somebody wants to make a show of coming out, but he just wants to stay in the well, to his own detriment, and then say, oh please save me, and makes a show of some kind of a devotion, that does not hold ground, does not hold water. So this is important. So this is about strength. And those who are advanced, they should, this is second class devotee, kamaraga vivarjitam, they have to use their strength to help others, those who are weak. So those who are spiritually strong should not be contented with their own, deliverance. That's what Prahlad Maharaj says, you see. 7:9:43-44. Naivo dvije paraduratyajavaitaranyastvadviryaгаयनमहामृतमग्न चित्तः शोचे ततो विमुखचेतस इन्द्रियार्थ माया सुखाय भरमुद्वहतो विमूढान्. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid. Why is not at all afraid of material existence? Not at all in Maya. Why? Because for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. Because of your mercy and because I am thinking of you, I am not at all afraid of Maya. Not by my own personal strength, but because I am connected with your topics. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies and countries. I am simply concerned with love for them. So the elaborate plans they are making, they are weak. And Prahlad Maharaj was so strong in spiritual life. So he was always thinking of using his strength to help the weak. So that is a preacher. That is a paropakar. That is meant to, that is the meaning of helping others. Now, 7944. Prayena deva munaya svavimukti kama maunam charanti vijanena parartha nishtha naitan vihaya kripanan vimumuksha eko nanyam dvadasya sharanam brahmatonupashye. My dear Lord Narasimhadev, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, strong people, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Maunavrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. So, in this way, we can see, you see the purport, this is the decision of a Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. He can even go to hell and be happy. Prahlad Maharaj said, I am not afraid, therefore. But what is he concerned with? He is concerned with the weak, the weaker section of society, which is the vast majority of them, which is almost 100%. It is extremely rare we can find a pure devotee who is actually spiritually strong. So their thing is, their duty is to protect the weak. So this gives another meaning to this whole verse. Balam balvatam chaham kamaraga vivarjitam. So spiritual strength, how we have to. So otherwise, if one does his spiritual duties and then he does not help others, that's not a very high grade devotee, like what Prahlad Maharaj has said. Because he'll be committing violence. If a strong man, physically a strong man, he does not use his strength to protect the weak, then his strength is used for violence. Either he himself is exerting his strength and committing violence, or when violence is being meted out, he is not going to protect the weaker person. So if he does not protect the weaker person and just stays there and then just stands as a witness, what is the use of his strength? No use. And if he personally employs his strength to beat the weaker people, then that is violence. And if he does not protect the weak, that is also violence. He is allowing violence to take place and he is not stopping it when he can. So in facilitating violence and in actually meting out violence, he is committing violence. So a person, a strong person who does not support the weak is committing violence. So similarly, a spiritually strong person who is not helping a spiritually weak person, he is committing violence. And that is explained here. What is that? Violence. What is it? I think 12.135, if I am not wrong. Purport. If you see here, Jiva Himsa, that is the word. Yes. The word Jiva Himsa, this is violence. Himsa means violence. The word Jiva Himsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Violence. Preaching work is described as paropakar, welfare activity for others. Those who are ignorant of the benefits of devotional service must be educated by preaching. If one stops preaching and simply sits down in a solitary place, he is engaging in material activity. If one desires to make a compromise with the Mayavadis, he is also engaged in material activity. A devotee should never make compromises with non-devotees. By acting as a professional guru, mystic yogi or miracle man, one may cheat and bluff the general public and gain fame as a wonderful mystic. But all this is considered to be dust, straw, and grains of sand within the heart. In addition, one should follow the regulative principles and not desire illicit sex, gambling, intoxicants, or meat. So, if we don't help by preaching, that is violence. If we let, or if we ourselves become a Mayavadi and preach nonsense, misleading people, instead of helping them, we are taking them to darkness. So, that is also violence. And by not helping others, not preaching, that is also violence. So, proper use of strength should be in Krishna's use, in Krishna's service, So, that should be the proper usage of strength. Otherwise, one will become weak oneself. If you don't preach, then the devotee himself becomes weak. That is the thing. If we don't use our strength in Krishna's service, then we will not become strong, we will become weaker. So this is about strength. Now we will talk about sex life. Actually, I wanted to speak only about sex life, but so almost 1 hour. Wow. Okay. I think I should change the title of this lecture. I think I should say strength and sex, religious and irreligious, something like that. So now about the second 2 lines. Dharma aviruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. Perfect time to talk about this because a lot of things are happening in the world today. Okay, that is against this. Dharma viruddha. Viruddha means against. Now what is dharma viruddha bhuteshu kamosmi? Kama means your sex life, lust. But it is not lust anymore if it is used in Krishna's service. Now, what is the sex life? Yes, sex lasts for only a few seconds. But the ramifications of sex last many times a whole lifetime. Many a time it lasts a whole lifetime. Because one has children and then one has a responsibility over a whole life, and then he wants to see the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, all this kind of stuff. Now, Gurur nasasyat, svajano nasasyat, pita nasasyat, janani nasasyat, daivam natatsyan, napatischa sasyan, namochayedya samupeta mrityum. So this is again, one should not accept this responsible position. A responsible position should only be accepted by somebody who is strong. Balam balavatam chaham, kamaraga vivarjitam. He can lead the others. If he himself is not strong in character, strong in spiritual life, then he cannot lead others. So now here it is said, one who cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and death should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or a worshipable demigod. Just like if I cannot swim, I cannot apply for the post of a lifeguard on the beach. You see, if I can't swim myself, and even if I can swim, if I cannot save others from drowning, or if I cannot, contribute, if I don't have sufficient strength and skills to save others from drowning, I cannot be a lifeguard. I will miserably fail in that. So similarly, this ocean of material existence, one has to be expert lifeguard to save all these people who are drowning in this ocean. So a person who is supposed to be a spiritual master, father, husband, mother, demigod, they must be extremely strong spiritually. Then they should take up such positions to help the weaker section. The dependents are weak. The providers are strong, of course. Of course, Krishna is the ultimate provider, but if Krishna has invested some power to provide for that family, or in whichever way, that provision should be there spiritually. Materially, one will be provided for by the grace of Krishna, but spiritually one must train them. So that's why it is said here. So this is the one should not become husband, mother, father. These are all coming from sex life. Husband, wife, they engage in sex and then they produce children and they become father and mother. So one should not hold such positions. In other words, one should not beget children if they cannot raise the children to God consciousness and make sure that they deliver them from the path of repeated birth and death. You see? So that is real sex life. And first of all, it should be in Vivaha Yajna. It should be in marriage only. Sex life only should be within marriage. Now one may say, oh yes, nowadays gay marriage is happening, lesbian marriage, all this homosexual. No. Even in marriage, within marriage, it should be only for procreation. So in this homosexual, all this won't happen. So that is aviruddha. That is viruddha. Dharma viruddha kama. Whereas dharma aviruddha kama, that which is not against religious principles, is a Krishna conscious marriage where the children are raised in Krishna consciousness. Proper Krishna consciousness. So that is proper marriage. That is proper use of sex life. Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed to the Lord for a ray of Vishnu, from one ray from the effulgence, unlimited effulgence of Vishnu, and that ray was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he prayed for that kind of a child, and that child came, and he became this great Acharya, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So that is the proper use of sex life. Of course, he had other children, all were devotees to different degrees, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was a shining example among all of his children. But anyway, all devotees. So that should be the purpose of sex. Otherwise, one should not beget children. So every other form of sex is demoniac. Even sex life within marriage, not for procreation, that is also demoniac. Just for sense gratification. You see, when it becomes dharma viruddha, when kama, raga, when it is fueled by kama and raga, lust and attachment, then it becomes irreligious. When it is kama raga vivarjitam, that is religious. And that is only possible by Krishna consciousness, because we cannot really be kama raga vivarjitam without Krishna consciousness. Either we will have attachment towards it, or we will have aversion towards it. Like the karmis, they are attached to sense gratification, whereas the jnanis, they are averse to sense gratification, averse to this material world. But both will fail, because attachment and aversion are two sides of the same coin. If I especially hate someone very, very bitterly, that means I really am thinking of that person through the feeling of hate. Some people, they think of the other person in the mood of love or affection, and somebody hate. So in both ways, our meditation is on that subject matter, on material matter, whether it is raga or dvesha. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata. So that is explained here. In the same chapter. इच्छाद्वेष समुत्थेन द्वंद्व मोहेन भारत सर्वभूतानि सम्मोहं सर्गे यान्ति परन्तप. O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. So both are actually attachments, positive attachment, negative attachment. The one who is detached, vivarjitam, varjita means to give up altogether. That means, for example, once Prabhupada was asked by somebody, what do you think of Sai Baba? Prabhupada said, I don't think of Sai Baba. Finish. So, he doesn't even think about him. So, he is a non-entity. So, why I was saying this? Because ultimately, of course, we should understand, those who do not know, Sai Baba is not authorized incarnation of God. An incarnation must be authorized through scriptures. But anyway, the point I am trying to make here is, we have to always accept authorized incarnation of God. That aside, not thinking, vivarjita means give up, even in thought, that's how. So the devotee does not think about matter. In fact, he knows that everything is Krishna's property, so he uses everything. He doesn't have to be especially, keeping himself out of everything. No, he can be in this world, in the midst of the, like Prabhupada, he went to the heart, very heart of materialistic civilization at that time, New York. He went to Boston, and there from New York he established a center. He established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, the first one, in New York, which was the hub of materialistic life. Because it was spreading this message of materialistic life to the whole world, and New York is the prime, capital of materialistic civilization. Even now, it is waning, but even now. So he went right to the heart of that. But he was not worried, oh, I'm going to here. No, he went. Because he was always Krishna conscious, just like Prahlad Maharaj. But he went to help the others. So he went. So he does not have, I want to go to America I like America, this. No, he doesn't like America. What is there in America so special? No, he went to save them. They are rotting away like rotten brinjal. I don't know if you have smelled the rotten brinjal, horrible smell. So they are like that. He went to save them. But and he also did not hate West. Oh, I don't want to go to the West. All are rascals, all demons. No, neither attraction nor aversion. Only how to serve Krishna. That's why Prabhupada many times said, we are not enjoyers, we are not renouncers, we are just servants of Krishna. We are not bhogis, we are not tyagis, we are just sevis. We just engage in seva. That's it. So kamaraga vivarjitam. So how can sex life be without kamaraga vivarjitam? It can only be when Krishna is in the center. Now, there are so many nowadays laws are being enacted, legislations are being passed to include gay marriage, lesbian marriage, trans, all this transsexual movement that is gaining so-called ground to these days, leftist propaganda. We are not left wing, we are not right wing, we are Vaikuntha wing, Garuda wing. We are just pointed upwards. We are not left or right. Of course, right means conservatives. But what conservative? Rooted in spiritual life. So our decisions all come from that point. So now, in the field, in the domain of dharma viruddha kama, that means sex life against religious principles, it is happening in so many ways today. So many issues are happening based on this. See, first of all, the demoniac people think that sex life is the basis of everything. After all, see, pravrittim cha nivrittim cha janana vidurasura na shaucham na api chacharo na satyam teshu vidyate. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness nor proper behavior nor truth is found in them. And then because they don't know what to do and what not to do, they will do anything. They are like, asatyam apratishtamte jagadahur anishwaram aparaspara sambhutam kimanyat kama hetukam. They say that this world is unreal with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and has no cause other than lust. And what they do? With this conception, they go about with their activities. And this is the result of their activities. Etam drishtim avashtabhya nashtatmano alpabuddhayah prabhavantyugra karmanah kshayaya jagato hitah. Following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Now, we are thinking horrible work means, produce some virus in a lab or, wage a war, invade some country. No. These are accepted as violence by everybody. But today's Kali Yuga society is such that so much is happening, so much violence is happening, but is passing off as non-violence. For example, the what is this? Meat industry. What is that? Well, I mean, when there is lack of Krishna consciousness, that is the beginning of violence. It just becomes worse and worse, that's all. Then meat. Now, governments may sanction, may approve such, meat. But this is completely sinful. It is actually causing all the war. Those are actually reactions of these activities which we are performing in so-called peaceful times. Everybody is, eating meat. Billions of souls are being killed every day. I mean, souls cannot be killed, but the meat eating is going on. It is sinful. Sinful. The body is being killed. The progress is being stopped, aborted. So, what happens? It will come back to us in one way or another. Whether it's by the pandemic or by the war or by some other thing, natural calamity. Now, climate change. They are saying that climate change is the next thing. Is the biggest problem that is facing our humanity. Why? And now the immediate problem that is coming up is food shortage. Now the big food shortage is going to come because of total mismanagement. Why all these things are happening? Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad annasambhavah yajnad bhavati parjanyo yajnah karma samudbhavah karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajne pratishthitam. 3:14 and 15. What is that? All living bodies subsist on food grains which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties, and regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice. Now, so in other words, our maintenance, annad, our basic maintenance comes from food. And that food comes from rains. Comes from yajna, performance of sacrifice. And such yajna, what is yajna? What is performance of yajna? How do we do the sacrifices? The protocol is mentioned in the Vedas. And where are the Vedas coming from? From the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, our maintenance of anna, food, can come when we follow Supreme Personality of Godhead, the instructions that He laid out. If we follow them, then automatically, like in Kali Yuga, Yuga Dharma is Harinam Yajna, chanting Krishna's name, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So if we do that, rains will come, there will be food, there will be everything. Perfect peace. And you don't need to eat all this meat and all this nonsense. One of the animal activists, they made a good point. We are not animal activists, we are Krishna activists. Everything for Krishna. Now anyway, but some of the points will coincide because of, but different reasons may be different. So anyway, he made an interesting point. In an area, say in the grasslands of the savannah is I think in the Africa, savannah, vast plains, and you must have seen these videos in National Geographic Channel or Discovery or whatever, this natural wildlife channels. So some leopards or some lions or some tigers, they hunt these, or hyenas, they hunt these grass eating, herbivorous animals. Now you see, this man, he said, this activist, he noticed this thing, that if you take 1 hectare of land, or say 1 acre, whatever, how many herbivorous animals are there and how many carnivorous animals are there? So 1 hectare of land, I don't know the exact numbers, the statistics, but say 100 zebras are there, but there will be only like 3 leopards or say cheetah or lion, or just a handful, right? But hundreds and even thousands, So that land can support only handful of meat eaters, carnivorous animals, but thousands of herbivorous animals. So that means, and if you have too many lions at one place, they will just kill each other anyway. They won't live in peace. They will kill each other. So in the end, the same land will only support a handful of lions, whereas thousands of herbivorous animals. So if people stop eating meat, the very same land on earth can feed so many more. And therefore, meat is not required at all. Meat is not. And if you think that, oh, if we don't kill them, then they will grow out of proportion. Arre? Why do you think so? Do you think if you don't kill lions, they will grow out of proportion? No, nature has its own way of balancing. They will not grow out of proportion. No. They will regulate themselves. You see? Everything has its own. Krishna, see, what is that? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Avashishyate, you see, what does that mean? The remainder, the balance. The balance is also Him. Purnam. And all self-sufficient. The complete balance. Purnam, the complete balance. The remaining balance. So in other words, and see Purnam unit, Purnam, Purna, Purnamudachyate. Everything, this earth and this whole ecosystem, I mean this whole universe, is a self-sustaining model, is a self-sustaining entity, unit. So it's Purnam and it will self-regulate itself. You don't have to do anything. Don't think that you're a big savior of the planet by killing the animals. This is all stupid arguments, stupid, absolutely crap arguments. Thing is that the Lord has His own way of we have to follow the order of the Lord. The Lord has He will maintain. Ekoyo bahunam vidadati kaman. He is maintaining why we worry about maintaining this planet? Now everybody is worrying about maintaining the planet because they have already ruined it. They want to backtrack their steps. That's what they're trying to do now. Only when it hurts them. You see, now they're talking about climate change because it will affect humans. If it only affected somebody else but not the humans, they will keep on polluting the whole thing. But because it's coming to them, now they're realizing. So, coming back, so annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad namasam. So all the sustenance can happen just by eating vegetarian food and offering it to Krishna first, of course, and then eating. Easily we can sustain huge populations on earth. But all these things happen, all these calamities are happening, there's violence. Why? Because we're not following Krishna. The society is not following Krishna, and that's where the whole thing starts. And now we owe some Vladimir Putin is a demon and all that. Honestly, as if the other side are angels. Not really. Everybody is getting the due karma. The only way they can be saved, both Ukrainians and Russians and the whole world, for that matter, is by Krishna consciousness. Now, you may say, oh, innocent children are being killed. No such thing as innocent. Maybe they are innocent now. But what they did in last life, we do not know. They must have killed a child and that's why they are now a child and being killed. We never know all these things. So we just judge from a very narrow perspective. We don't know the law of karma and the intricacies of it. We are observing it from such a skewed perspective and we formulate our opinions based on those. So that's not true. So we have to understand that the whole mechanics is, it's way bigger than what we can imagine. So therefore, what we should understand is that we should just follow Krishna. That's enough. Everything will be set right. And this point of sex life is a very, very heinous thing they're doing. Meat eating is one thing. But you see, this sex life, they do contraception against dharma. Dharma viruddha, not dharma aviruddha. Viruddha, against dharma. Then abortion. Mothers are killing children. Mothers who are supposed to be I mean, mother will fight for the life of a child. But such mothers in Kali Yuga kill their own children in the name of women's freedom, pro-choice. What choice? Yeah, you have chosen to go to hell. That's your choice. So these people and pro-life, pro-choice, and you see this is very interesting. Pro-life activists, those who are pro-life activists, that means they say that you should not abort. You should. It's a child. So, but they themselves kill animals. They are also life. Why that life is not important? That is not life. Animals are not life. Now, of course, you may say, "Oh, plant is also life." Then, yes, because it is sanctioned by Krishna. Sanctioned by Krishna and offered to Krishna first. Then yes. So, if somebody may say, "Oh, my religion sanctions meat," no religion sanctions meat. Thou shalt not kill. Even in Muslim religion, blood is haram. That's why they try to drain the blood of the animal and then try to eat the meat. That's not the. You cannot take out all the blood from the animal. How can you guarantee that there is no blood? There is no such thing. That's why no religion actually will support animal killing. Now, this is this verse, Srimad Bhagavatam 11:5-11. Loke vyavaya. Oh, this is different here. Loke vyavaya mishamadya seva nitya hi jantor nahi tatra chodana vyavasthitisteshu vivaha yajna suragrahairasu nirvrittirishta. In this material world, the conditioned soul is always inclined to sex, meat eating, and intoxication. So, without any religion, one will automatically have sex, meat eating, and intoxication. People will want to do these things without any religion. So, why will religious scriptures come out and say, big messengers of God will come out and say, please eat meat? There is no need of a big acharya to come and say that. Without any acharya, people will automatically do that. So, if acharya scriptures they come to prohibit this. Or if they at all encourage, they encourage only in regulation. So that the ultimate aim is to prohibit. Pravrittiresha bhutanam nivrittistu mahaphala. I think there is a similar verse in Bhagavatam also. Pravrittiresha bhutanam. We will go to that verse. Although the scriptural injunctions here, although the scriptural injunctions provide for sex through sacred marriage, for meat eating through sacrificial offerings, and for intoxication through the ritual cups of wine, such ceremonies are meant for the ultimate purpose of renunciation. They are not to be enjoyed. If one at all has sex, then eventually that has to be. That's why there is sannyas, vanaprastha and sannyas. It's not their whole life just have sex and produce children until the end of life. Yeah, tomorrow dying, today produce one child. That's not human life. Maybe pig, pigs can do that, but humans are not meant for that. Not that tomorrow I'm dying, okay, today impregnate somebody. That's not human life. So these are all meant for ultimately stopping. So sex life is never or encouraged. Meat eating is never encouraged by any religious process, any religion. Now, so abortion, killing. They say, oh, that is just a lump of tissues. I think recently the other class I was mentioning how. Okay, I think there is lag again. Never mind, we'll just continue. So the other day I was mentioning how they aborted babies. They were, caught from some abortion clinic, and then they were well into their pregnancy and almost giving out, almost dead at the time of delivery. In fact, there was this one doctor, who is such a demon. So when the child is delivered, and when the mother says, actually the mother did not want the child, but then they became pregnant, and then in the end they did not want. So what this doctor does, he was interviewed, he was interrogated, but secret video was filmed, and he was on the video he was saying that when the child comes out, if he needs any care or anything, we don't provide, so the child will die, because the parents wanted it like that. So that is criminal, and it is only And even in abortion laws, they say, I think some weeks, I don't know, 12 weeks or something, before that number of weeks you can kill. After that you cannot kill. Why did the child get the rights after that week? What happened? The thing we understand from Bhagavatam is that 331.1 Srimad Bhagavatam. What is that? Let's take out. This is important knowledge. I mean, this is even the scientific community themselves, biologists, they cannot say when the soul enters the body. But everybody knows sex life is what makes a child, right? Even a materialist would know that, right? That means the man has injected the soul into the woman's body through semen, and that's how the development starts. That's what pregnancy means. What do you mean you don't know when is the rights of the child starts? What do you mean by that? Just because it doesn't look like a child in the beginning, it's not a child? What nonsense is this? Karmanadaiva netrena jantur dehopapattaye striya pravishta udaram pumso retah kanashrayah. Personality of Godhead said, under the supervision of the Supreme Lord and according to the result of his own work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particle of male semen to assume a particular type of body. So the soul is entering at the time of conception itself, at the time of sexual intercourse. After that, we have no right to say that, oh, I have a choice on this. You have if a parent says, I have a choice whether I want to kill my child or not, it's my child. No, you'll be prosecuted by the state law, right? I cannot do that. Similarly, why the society has become so demoniacs. They don't know what to do and what not to do. Pravritim cha nivritim cha janana vidurasura. They don't know what to do and what is right and what is wrong. So they are doing everything. So even governments don't protect. At least the government protects the rights of a child who has already come out, who is already living in this world. But those who are in the womb, they don't have even rights. Even government is not protecting. They say, yes, woman, you can abort. So and this actually is very complicated, this whole thing, this abortion, because sometimes woman may be raped, and what if she becomes pregnant because of a rape? Is she entitled to abort such a baby? If you understand the scriptures very well, you can't. And that is the reason why a woman should be so protected. Because a woman may say, oh, this is a rape, so I can't have this child. But, so on one side, she met with violence. She suffered some karmic reaction. Rape happened. And now she became pregnant. Now, to nullify the reaction of one sin, if she commits another sin of killing the child now, that will, in the future, she will have to pay for that as well. So why, if there is a problem, so if suppose my right hand is cut off, oh, right hand is cut off, okay, cut off my left hand also. Is that the answer? So if I am suffering because of some sin I have done in my previous life, how will that be neutralized by committing another sin now? Society wise, it may look, it sounds justified and all, but it's not. This is quite controversial. But if you understand this, if you understand the scriptures, we understand that the cause of the rape, whatever has happened, of course that person has to be punished, that's another thing. But one has faced that situation because of some karma in the past life. And to nullify that, we cannot commit another sin, or then it will nullify. It may temporarily look like a so-called nullification, or if that is a word. But there is no such thing, because in the future he has to pay for it. I have to be aborted. In the same way, I have to suffer the whole thing myself. I have to be killing one's own child. So this just shows how important it is to protect women. That's why women were so carefully protected in Vedic culture against all these things, because they are very, very vulnerable, very vulnerable. And it is not that a woman will suffer, man will not suffer. He will suffer, he will get it. If he does it, he will become a woman and he will be raped in the next life. And even in this life, he will be punished. So, you have to understand there are so many nuances to this sex life. And modern laws are not in accordance with Shastra. Now, people may protest, oh, how can you say that a woman must bear the child of a rapist? If it happened, what can we do? That's why we have to see from Shastric viewpoint. I just told you why. If one chooses to abort that baby, then what will happen? One will have to suffer for the killing. So that's why we have to see from Shastra, and that is the reason why Arjuna also was saying that point. Oh, if women are left unprotected, if all the men are killed here, then there will be unwanted population. You see, Kunti Devi, she was pregnant before her marriage because of a benediction from Durvasa, and she called sun god Surya Bhagavan, and then he impregnated her. Now, she did not abort the baby. She delivered the baby. Of course, she, out of social stigma, she put the child on a basket and then he was raised somewhere else. Lucky he did not drown there. Otherwise, killing a child. So anyway, that's all. Kunti Devi is a aunt of Krishna. That's a different. We can't even comment on such a personality. But you see, you can see examples. So the abortion is a very, very atheistic thing. So this gives rise to a lot of so-called freedom in sex life. But what happens to such so-called freedom? One will be terribly suffering. And you see, in this now we are saying, oh, Ukrainian people, they are so good, Russia is attacking them and killing them. Honestly, are there no abortions going on? Is there no beef eating going on there? Is there no meat eating going on? If these things are happening, and don't think that Ukraine, everywhere is happening, why everybody is not being attacked like this? But wait. Time will tell. We have just come out of a 2 year long, lockdown almost. A complete standstill of sorts. Why did you? That's actually a very mild punishment for what we are doing, what the humanity is doing now. You see, the whole world was affected. And just watch. It will come to the point where not only pockets of, the world will be affected, but the whole world will be affected. What will happen when climate change goes through the roof? And everything, the whole Earth's temperature increases by, say, 3 degrees Celsius, which they say will happen by some 2060 or 2070 or something like that. We may think, only 3 degrees. Okay, that's fine. And now it's 30 degrees, okay, 33 degrees, 33 degrees, okay, it will become 36. Okay, fine, we can manage. No, it's not going to be so simple. It's not going to be so simple. The ice caps will melt, and in fact, there is also speculation, and it can well happen, that certain microbes can live at a temperature which is not currently there, but if it increases to that, then it will enhance the biology of such microbes, and it will multiply in extremely fast rate, and a huge pandemic can happen because of just temperature rise. There can be a lot of things that can happen, that can go wrong. We are just thinking of ice caps melting and then there will be a tsunami, so I will just stay on high ground, I will go to some mountain. No, there are a lot of things that can happen. A variety of ways which destruction can come upon us. So these things are happening. Why? Not simply because of some global warming, because of pollution, air pollution. Yes, that is the immediate cause. But why air pollution started? Because of the oil. Why oil started? Because of people want to just move and do this and do that, do this trade and this. All this started from, if you trace back, it all starts from atheistic viewpoint of life. Increase my trade, why do you want to waste your life doing all these things? Just chant Hare Krishna. Why do you want to drill oil from somewhere and then build ships and then get into accidents and build roads and get into accidents there and build big Ugra Karma? That's why it is said here, Ugra Karmana 16:9, Bhagavad Gita 16:9. You see, Ugra Karmana, horrible works they do. They'll take up projects which are completely horrible. Jagato ahita, unbeneficial, horrible works, destruction, kshayaya, for destruction. Following such conclusions, the demoniac who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Look at this. This is happening. And these are the very reasons, these are the seeds. Now, what you are seeing in Ukraine and what you are seeing as a pandemic, these are fructified sins on a mass scale. Fructified means bearing fruit. So, a seed, when you sow a seed, the potency of a tree is unknown at that point. It grows into a sapling. It looks like a very weak thing, sapling, just like a small plant, what it can do. Then it grows into a huge tree, and then, there's big leaves, thousands and millions of leaves, and then there are hundreds and thousands of fruits, and then the fruits ripen. And when the fruit ripens, that is when we will see the effect of the seed. So, the sin, when we commit a sinful activity, it will go through these stages. Aprarabdha, phalam papam, kutam bijam phalonmukham, kramena eva praliyeta vishnu bhaktiratatmanam. So, of course, with devotional service, we can burn up all kinds of sinful reactions, no matter what stage they are in, whether in the seed stage or whether they are in fruit stage or anywhere in between. Now, what we are seeing as effects are fructified sins, when the fruit has ripened. But so many sins are being sown every day, and it's only going to reap fruits of sin. And that's what we're going to eat. And that's what we're going to face. And these things are immediate causes. Sort out that Ukraine conflict with some diplomacy, some peace talks. Not going to happen. I mean, that's getting so much, Ukraine is getting so much limelight. But there are, in Israel, Palestine, there is going on since decades, since centuries, maybe even millennia. And in Middle East, there are going on so many problems. In Africa, nobody just puts a camera there and puts it out in the news. That's all. Europe, because Europe, that's why it's a big thing. They think they're the elite. Anything happening there, should be the center of the news. But Israel, Palestine, nobody bothers. But anyway, everybody is getting their dues because of their own karma. The only way this whole thing can be stopped is Krishna consciousness. So if we are killing animals, if we are killing our own children, what kind of civilization is this? So abortion is one thing. And that's one thing, about illicit sex life. Another aspect of illicit sex life is now what is happening in this transgender movement. LGBTQIA, ABCD, XYZ, and everything, whole alphabets are there. And they say gender is a spectrum. Nonsense they're speaking. And then recently there was a legal court issue, and then the lawyer was asked, who is a woman? The lady could not answer. I cannot answer that. Lady, he's a woman. She cannot answer the question, who is a woman? They don't know what is a woman and a man anymore. And all kinds of things are happening right now. Okay? So this transgenderism. So already, even sex between man and woman, if it is without marriage, it is illicit. Within marriage, not for procreation, illicit. That stringent it is. What is actually dharma, viruddha kama. But what to speak of illicit relations with extramarital affairs, that is of course illicit sex. Man and man, illicit sex. You're not going to have procreation by that. So forget it. It's not irreligious. It's irreligious. It's sinful. That's it. Girl. What children can be had? No. It won't produce pregnancy. And they are actually fighting for these things now. We should accept that biological male may not be the gender. Sex and gender are two different things. Gender is what so they say gender is a social construct. People say this is boy, this is girl. That's why people think this is boy and girl. What people? And one of this transgender so-called parent. She is a woman, but she declared her child as a transgender child. So it's a boy, but she's dressing him up as a girl. Basically, maybe she wanted a girl. She had a boy, but she thinks that she's a girl. She said the first words that came out of the child's mouth, I knew he was a girl, although he had genitals of a boy. So she has been dressing him up as a girl. So she said that the doctor, when the child was born, the doctor believed that it was a boy. You see, their language is just horrible. This is called dharma viruddha. They don't know what is true and what is false anymore. Pravritim cha nivritim cha. Already people do not know, but it is just going down to the low point, lowest point, to the point that people can't even say openly who is a man and who is a woman anymore. If I say a woman is a person who has a female genitalia, that is a wrong thing in society. When fact is spoken, it has come to that stage now. Yeah, it is coming. People are passing laws. I'm not joking. People are passing laws like this in America, and people will follow. In other parts of the world. Yeah? So these kind of things are happening, and they're having this asexual, bisexual, pansexual, all kind of sexual. Their whole definition is based on the sex. And now a new thing started in Germany. Just news came out just like last week. You know what it was? What do you call it? There is a word for it. A brothel. It has a special name. What is it called? Bestiality brothel. Bestiality brothel. You know what's bestiality brothel? Brothel means a place where prostitutes are found, so you can have sex for a price. Basically, you can buy sex. That's a brothel. Bestiality brothel means, bestial means to have men who have sex with animals. So now in Germany there are many places where there are bestiality brothels. People who want to have sex with animals. That is being sold as a service. And people will do it. They will think, why just transgenderism, trans species? Let's do it. They will go to a different level. So there are many punishments for these illicit. So illicit sex comes in all these different forms. It is actually any sex which is devoid of without marriage, and even within marriage, if it is without procreation, not for the reason of procreation, it is already illicit. From that point, anything other than that is all illicit, and it just goes to the severity of the illicit nature of the illicit sex. So illicit sex sex with animals, and they are arguing. They say, if we have the right to kill the animals every day and eat them, why don't we have right to have sex with them? If killing them is okay, why having sex with them is against their rights or whatever, against morality or whatever you may think. If killing them is okay, so okay, that makes sense. Having sex is less harmful than killing, because those who are animal activists, they are saying this is very harmful. This is abuse, animal abuse. They say if that is animal abuse, then what about killing? If meat can be eaten, and it is a law in every country, there is nothing against eating meat in any country, so it is lawful. If I can kill them, and that is okay, but if I have sex with them, that is not okay. Where is the logic? So you see, by allowing meat eating, they are allowing this kind of things now. Of course, logically it doesn't make any sense. Of course, if you can kill the animal, having sex with the animal is less harmful than even killing, right? Apparently. So the whole point is, because they have departed from religious principles, their very so-called law is based on sin, and because of that, you cannot have a definite rule of law. And if somebody argues like this, you cannot say anything. Fact, if I can kill them, why can't I have sex with them? Why having sex with them is wrong when killing them is not wrong according to law? So they're fighting actually. These bestiality guys, those who are into this bestial, we won't have sex with animals. Look at their brains. Dharma vriddha kamosmi bharata shabha. You see how, because they are not religious, atheism is just going from bad to worse, bad to worse. And in Japan, and I think even in many parts of America, maybe they've started already, but very much so in Japan, apparently, they are having sex toys, sex dolls. The woman, it's a full woman size. So the man is having many of these woman dolls. Everything realistic, including the genitalia and the feel of the skin and the softness. Everything is almost as close to the real woman as possible. And these men are having sex with them, and the women are having sex with these so-called men dolls. These things are happening. I mean, this is what happens when you don't have a guiding principle in life. When you don't have Krishna consciousness, there's no guiding principle in life. There's no lanes, there is no nothing, you can do whatever you want. What is right? Well, that's a shifting platform. Sometimes this is right because that was the age, or what was right in 1960s is not right now. We are in the 21st century, we are in the third decade of the 21st century, we are more modern. Now our right is this. Blacks did not have souls at one point, that was right. Then black fought for their rights, they got soul. Then women did not have soul, and they fought for their rights, they got soul. Now animals cannot fight, but some humans are fighting for animals. The animals sometimes have soul, at least some people agree. I mean, their reality is changing every day. I mean, they're so-called facts. They are not facts. Their platform of what is right is changing all the time. It is not a fixed thing because there is no standards. What is the standard now? And you may think, okay, who cares about standards? I mean, we just live and after this life we die and finish it. That's it. Bhasmi bhutasya dehasya kutah punaragamano bhavet. Charvak Muni said, after this life everything is turned to ashes and that's it. Why do you worry about sinful reaction and you do something wrong, you will get reaction? Don't worry, just do whatever you want. I mean, enjoy life. They don't know. They don't even know. This world is becoming more and more uninhabitable for any gentleman, the way it is going. And if we just if we take instruction from Bhagavad Gita, if we follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, we can have so much peace. And mind you, they may have so-called these women freedom by having abortions or transgender movement, all these things or bestiality, bestiality, having sex with animals. They may have their way now. So let's look at the consequences of those who engage in all these kinds of different types of illicit sex. And because there are so many flavors of illicit sex, there are different flavors of punishment also for them in hell. Let's look at some of those punishments. There are so many verses on different types of illicit sex. Now let's see that. 5:26. Now, I think the first one is 5:26:10. Let's go to 5:26:10. This is also actually illicit sex. My dear king, a person who appropriates another's legitimate wife, children or money is arrested at the time of death. So appropriates, that means he rapes and he takes custody of he steals them away, and who bind him with rope of time and forcibly throw him into the hellish planet known as Tamisra. On this very dark planet, the sinful man is chastised by Yamadutas who beat and rebuke him. He is starved and he is given no water to drink. Thus the wrathful assistants of Yamaraj cause him severe suffering and sometimes he faints from their chastisement. Mind you, none of the prisons of the world, none of the prisons on the earth have this kind of punishments that Yamaraj gives. Nowhere on the earth. Nowhere even close. Okay? Because the maximum you get is a death sentence and you are hanged and then finish. There you will be squeezed and you will never die. You will be thrown from the mountains, you will never die. Only pain. That kind of suffering, the body doesn't die, it just keeps on having pain only. Even if it is torn to 100 pieces. Now, so 526.9. The destination of a person who slyly cheats another man and enjoys his wife and children is the hell known as Andhatamisra. The destination of such a person who cheats another man and enjoys his wife and children, he goes to Andhatamisra. There his condition is exactly like that of a tree being chopped at its roots. Even before reaching Andhatamisra, the sinful living being is subjected to various extreme miseries. These afflictions are so severe that he loses his intelligence and sight. It is for this reason that learned sages call this hell Andhatamisra. Andha means blind. He becomes blind from the extreme suffering that he goes through. Just imagine if you are caned by a cane on the back, on the buttocks. In Singapore there is caning. The maximum is 24 strokes of cane. The highest punishment of cane is 24 strokes. Of course, death is the highest, but among caning, 24 strokes is the highest. And when a person is beaten like that, the skin splits open. It's completely raw flesh. And many people faint. They don't last 24 canes. You think, 24, okay, that's not very much. Okay, 24. No, people don't even last 10. They faint because of the pain. Cane only. Just imagine. They lose sight here. They not only faint, lose sight, lose intelligence. They become mad. That much they are beaten. Okay. Next. This is also kind of illicit sex, because sex, even if to produce children, this is another thing. Sex to produce children is fine, but if you don't take a responsibility of them to get them to Krishna consciousness, that is also dharma viruddha. That means if I raise children and then not Krishna conscious, again dharma viruddha. Because I should not become a father and mother if I cannot deliver my dependents. So that is against religious. So there is a sin already. You see? So now, a person who accepts his body as his self works very hard day and night for money to maintain his own body and the bodies of his wife and children. Of course, this is about violence. All based on, again, illicit sex without Krishna consciousness. A family life not centered with Krishna consciousness is basically a griha medhi. It's illicit sex life, basically. His whole family is built on illicit sex. Yeah, this Himanshu is saying even the prisons in some countries are very deluxe. Yeah. In fact, I think in one of the European countries, if I'm not Denmark, if maybe Netherlands, maybe, the prisoners are only attended by females, because they say, their theory is that when a man is in front of a woman, he becomes naturally more softer, more gentleman-like, and more, accommodating, not so rough and all that. So the prisoners are treated by ladies only. Criminal is like, you'll have free women serving him. You will have to pay so many people to serve like that, but here free service by all women only. And they select beautiful women so that he feels attracted, he feels nice. A woman, that lust is the cause of problem. What if this woman is serving this criminal and that criminal also? Then if she smiles to that criminal and does not smile here, finish. They will murder this woman or they'll kill themselves. How many? Ramayana started how? Because of a woman. In the sense that Ravana wanted to enjoy a woman. Not that she was a beautiful woman and he became very gentlemanlike. No. So, lust, kama, then krodha, then lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. All these things will come. No brain. But that's why deluxe, as Himanshu said, deluxe. That kind of prisons. So, unfortunately, Yamaraj won't do this kind of nonsense. He means business. He will beat the hell out of that person in hell. So, now, so a person who accepts his body as his self works very hard day and night for money to maintain his own body and the bodies of his wife and children. While working to maintain himself and his family, he may commit violence against other living entities. Such a person is forced to give up his body and his family at the time of death, when he suffers the reaction for his envy of other creatures by being thrown into the hell called Raurava. So there in the Raurava, in this life, an envious person commits violent acts against many other living entities. Therefore, after his death, he is taken to hell of Yamaraj. When he is taken there, those living entities who were hurt by him appear as animals called rurus to inflict very severe pain upon him. Learned scholars call this hell Raurava. Not generally seen in this world, the ruru is more envious than a snake. Now, okay, this is all meat eating, how they suffer. Now, we're talking about illicit sex now here. So, let's go to the illicit sex part. 5:26:20. See this. A man or woman who indulges in sexual intercourse with an unworthy member of the opposite sex is punished after death by the assistance of Yamaraj in the hell known as Taptasurmi. There, such men and women are beaten with whips. The man is forced to embrace a red hot iron form of a woman. Can that happen in the jail in this world? No way. Not even in North Korea. The man is forced to embrace a red hot iron form of a woman, and the woman is forced to embrace a similar form of a man. Such is the punishment for illicit sex. They don't care whether it's a woman, less punishment. No. You're going to embrace a molten form of a man. Next, 5:26:21. A person who indulges in sex indiscriminately, even with animals. You don't think that this bestiality brothel is a new thing. Yamaraj already has a hell prepared. If somebody is inventing something, let's have sex with animals, invent something new. Yamaraj says, hello, I have hell prepared for you, you can come. I have everything prepared, I already know. Rascals like you exist and you are welcome here. And that welcome will not be very well. You will come to Yamaraj, but it will not be very well. A person who indulges in sex indiscriminately, even with animals, is taken after death to the hell known as Vajrakantaka Shalmali. This is a special place which is so difficult to pronounce. Vajrakantaka Shalmali. Special, deluxe hell. In this hell, there is a silk cotton tree full of thorns as strong as thunderbolts. The agents of Yamaraj hang the sinful man on that tree and pull him down forcibly so that the thorns very severely tear his body. Himanshu is saying Yamaraj is very creative in punishing. Yes. Who will think of some silk cotton tree full of thorns as strong as thunderbolts, and he's pierced. The thorn is like this, suppose, and this body comes and pierces through the whole thing, and then they will drag him down. That's it. But he will not die. Hell. Illicit sex. This is what we pay with. Not only that, in hell, but even in this life already we can see hellish symptoms like this war, this pandemic, all these things. Hellish. And some places on this earth are almost all the time hell. Some countries. Okay, what else? Another. 5:26:23. The shameless husbands of low-born Shudra women live exactly like animals, and therefore they have no good behavior, cleanliness, or regulated life. After death, such persons are thrown into the hell called Puyoda, where they are put into an ocean filled with pus, stool, urine, mucus, saliva, and similar things. Shudras who could not improve themselves fall into that ocean and are forced to eat those disgusting things. Not finished. Coming more. Different types of illicit sex are there, right? Now you see. 5:26:26. If a foolish member of the twice born classes, Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, forces his wife to drink his semen out of a lusty desire to keep her under control, he is put after death into the hell known as Lalabhaksha. There he is thrown into a flowing river of semen which he is forced to drink. And recently some news came. I saw the heading, was disgusted to the core. It says, it was written by a woman. She was writing, The semen, drinking the semen of a man is good for your health, for your vitality, for your brightness, for it brings a sort of an aura in the woman, it seems. Lala Bhaksha aura. Rascals. She's a woman. She's saying that a woman should drink the semen of a man. Then the woman will become very bright faced and all this, very full of vitality, it seems. Yamaraj is prepared. He is ready. Whenever you are ready, he is ready. Before you were ready, he was ready. For all these rascals, Yamaraj is waiting. Well, all these other hells for different kinds of things. There are millions of hellish planets, honestly. 28 gates of hell, but each gate leads to many different hellish planets. Millions of them. So, just see. Just see illicit sex. How many kinds of punishments are there for different kinds of illicit sex. So this is not to be played with. Very dangerous path that people are treading. So one must conduct ourselves at every step in Krishna consciousness. Automatically all problems are solved. All problems. They're all starting because of these kind of activities. Then they start one thing. It may not look very, and on, okay, my thoughts are racing. So, it does not look very threatening, but then it will become. For example, let the transgender people live. Then the ordinary people will think, okay, let them live. Now, when you let them live, now we want our rights. We want to be included. We want to see that the companies, they employ transgenders so that to show that they are not against, they're not against the transgender movement. Then government also should be represented. There should be transgender politicians. Then education, we have to give the children education. They are now educating in the United States in primary schools in some places about transgenderism. They're preaching to the children about transgenderism. And another thing, I forgot to mention, there is something called now, again came out in the news. This is, I don't know, nowadays the news is all about sex. If not for the war or the pandemic, about the sex. I don't know why, what is happening to people. They have invented a puberty blocker, it seems. Puberty blocker. So, the premise is that in the primary school, children should be taught about who they feel like they are. Go with who you feel like you are. Don't believe your genitals. If you have male genitalia or female genitalia, it doesn't mean anything. You basically are what you think you are. If I think I'm a cat, maybe tomorrow people will come out, I feel that I'm a cat. Then people should call you cat pronouns. Meow. Instead of saying his phone, you must say meow's phone or something like this. It will come out. I mean, I'm telling you, it's not going to stop anywhere close. So, if one thing is allowed, then the next thing is allowed, it will never end. And so children, this is now the propaganda. The transgender, they are not stopping at getting some rights. No. They want to impose their thing now. So, children should be taught before they get puberty, because at puberty there will be a lot of, because actually when puberty occurs, the adolescent, he or she will feel a little bit uncomfortable with the changes in their body. That's natural. But they are equating that to a feeling like, you are feeling uncomfortable because you are actually not what you think you are. So this puberty is actually hindering. Now if a girl, suppose she gets puberty and then she's getting all the girl, parts and the hormones, everything, then and she's uncomfortable with it, that means you are a boy. You're actually a boy. That's why you're feeling uncomfortable. So this puberty has actually is changing your natural inclinations, because you're actually by nature you're a boy, but your puberty is telling you you're a girl. So what is natural, they are terming it as unnatural, and therefore you should block it, the puberty blocker. And it can have irreversible, and there's no test, there is no confirmation on how much damage it will do in the future. And their idea is, if we don't give this puberty, so the puberty blocker is, the child should be educated, so called this nonsense educated, that he is he should be given the time to choose himself. Who is he? Don't let puberty decide for you who you are, which gender you are. And so if you want some time, you take this puberty blocker and it will prolong, it will just postpone your puberty for before it comes, so that you can have sufficient time to deal with it, so that people will question, hey, this is nonsense. They are saying, if you don't sanction, if you don't approve these puberty blockers, you are killing a whole generation of people. Why? Because they will get into this confusion when they go and get puberty and when they become adolescents, and because of the confusion they will go into depression, they will commit suicide. So they are dying because you are not allowing them to choose their gender, and you are forcing them by the puberty to whatever stereotype. What is natural has become unnatural. What is unnatural has become natural. People in the mode of ignorance only do this, right? That is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Rascals of the first order. This is what happens when you leave Krishna consciousness. Madness is what is going to end up at. It will start off not so bad. Okay, fine. I am an atheist. Okay, I am still intelligent. I won't harm anybody. Blah blah blah. But I will still eat meat and everything. What a rascal you are. And then it just snowballs into this madness now. It's come to a point of madness now. You see here, adharmam dharmam itiya manyate tamasavrita sarvarthan viparitamscha buddhi saparthatamasi. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion, under the spell of illusion and darkness, and strives always in the wrong direction. O Partha is in the mode of ignorance. Purport. Intelligence in the mode of ignorance is always working the opposite of the way it should. It accepts religions which are not actually religions. Like transgenderism, they have a flag, as if they have a tilak like that. They have a flag and they have all this insignia and all this. They are preaching as if it's a religion. It's a complete irreligious nonsense, but religion. It accepts religions which are not actually religions and rejects actual religion. Men in ignorance understand a great soul to be a common man and accept a common man as a great soul. They think truth to be untruth and accept untruth as truth. That's why when the prosecutor she asked the lawyer, this woman, who is a woman? She said, I can't answer that question. A lawyer. She can't answer what is a woman. So if you can't define what a woman is, how can you define what a rape is? Because who knows? The person who was so-called raped, maybe even not a woman. How would I know if she's a woman? Just because she says she is? Really? Who determines who is a woman? What is a woman? Nonsense. I can't even. It's a simple thing. They think truth to be untruth and accept untruth as truth. In all activities, they simply take the wrong path. Therefore, their intelligence is in the mode of ignorance. So this is happening everywhere. So there's so many flavors of this illicit sex. It starts off as illicit sex within marriage. It starts off as producing children and not, training them up in Krishna consciousness. Then it goes to the next stage, not having children within marriage, though. Sex within marriage but without children. And of course abortion nonsense started, right? Then it goes to extramarital affairs, illicit sex again. Then it goes to sex with same species or anybody, taste of that, anything goes. Then sex with different species, where it goes. Or sex with inanimate objects, toys, sex toys, sex dolls. Where it will end? It will all end in Yamaraj's planet. His different planets are there. Such souls will end up there and suffer all these punishments which we have just seen a while ago. So, dharma aviruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshapha. Nobody is denying sex life, but if we don't take the path ordained by God, Krishna, then it's going to turn into very, very horrible things. You may say, oh, that is true, okay, they are all rascals, they are all extreme. No, it can start as something seemingly not at all extreme, like abortion. It's taken as not extreme. If I want, I can do it. Oh, financial reasons, I can't maintain so many, so I have to abort. Okay, then what will happen next life? It's not going to end well. It's going to be worse and worse and worse. So this is very, very, very bad. You just can't imagine how mother killing her own child. Her own child. This is what Kali Yuga come to now, and it is accepted as something very normal. Even in India, where people are supposed to know these signs of when actually the soul enters the womb and why the soul has every right to live. Unless Krishna decides that the soul does not live and there is a miscarriage, or even after coming out and there is some death or whatever, that's another thing. But let nature take its course. And also that shows how important protection of women is in society. This so-called women's liberation, women coming out to the fore and becoming, they think it's okay. Oh, we have the same freedom as men, and now we can choose. Yeah, so we have the same. No. That's why I said in the beginning, even the rape victim, if she becomes pregnant, if she kills the child, she will suffer double. She will suffer for killing the child. She will suffer for the rape already that she has suffered. So to counteract one suffering, you cannot bring upon another suffering. That is wrong. That is not the correct idea. So that's why, of course, nobody wants a child from a rapist. So, if at all it happens, she should give birth to the child. Otherwise, she is going to suffer even more. According to Shastra. Not my opinion. That's why rape shouldn't totally be not allowed. And how? It's so strong. Men must be trained properly. This all happens. How does it happen? There's a grassroots. Fundamentally, they have to be. The whole society has to be trained, because a monster may be anywhere. A rapist. And the kind of movies that are shown nowadays. There's no character. No character is. It's just sex. Everything is sex. So how will the person, out of how will he not be a psychopath after coming out of all this kind of propaganda from media, from school, from friends or whatever? It's all bad company. So a monster may be lurking anywhere, and it can happen to anyone. So it's a very, very dangerous thing. Everything in this material world is very dangerous. Shurasya dhara nishita duratyaya durgam pathatyat kavayo vadanti durgam pathastat kavayo vadanti. It's like walking on a razor's edge, this life, fraught with dangers at every step. We have to conduct ourselves properly in Krishna consciousness. If we are in Krishna consciousness, then yes, everything Krishna will also protect, everything will be in place. And man, woman, everybody are trained properly, then society will be very, very smooth. Like Vaikuntha. So that's why the only movement that can help the world is the Krishna consciousness movement. And this is why we have to preach far and wide. We are the only ones. Our movement is the only movement in the world. And we are not fanatics. We can scientifically prove to anyone that we are the only movement in the world who can save this humanity, this whole world. Not the so-called anti-climate change and animal activists or this activist and that activist, political, all this won't help in the end. It is only Krishna consciousness which can help. So I'll stop it right there. Any questions or comments? I think there are some. This website show lifetime animal killing of different species. Well, see, Prabhupada said, I mean, it's horrible, but Prabhupada said our propaganda should be positive. Yes, it is horrible, but you know, we have to understand. I mean, this is so bad. I mean, our thing is not to haunt people with these images, but educate them, but not exactly. Prabhupada's way was to show the beauty of Krishna and the beauty of Krishna conscious life as opposed to the horrible life of slaughter otherwise. Himanshu Prabhu said, Prabhu, they do not see these things from Shastric perspective. That's why we have to make them. That's what preaching is all about. To make them see it, educate them. Preeti Gauranga Prabhu is saying, Hare Krishna Prabhu, once earth becomes inhabitable, then we go to Mars to continue this same mess. Uninhabitable, you mean? Yeah. Anyway, they cannot go to Mars. Let them speculate. But even if they at all go there, they will make a mess out of that place as well. So it's all some. They're already making a mess out of the whole planet because they're not following Krishna consciousness. That's why it is becoming a mess. And that's why they have wrong. What is that? Wrong convictions and wrong decisions they make. Wrong determination. That's why they see how much determination they have to build a skyscraper, build these roads, build cities, build big thing, build armies, weapons, and all these things. How much determination they have? Why do they have such determination in the wrong direction? Because their understanding of life primarily is wrong. So the understanding have to be changed. The determinations, the convictions, and all these things are based on what they are fed, what knowledge they are fed. So if they are fed some rubbish, then they will act rubbish. So that's why everybody has to be fed Krishna consciousness from the Kaumaram Acharit Prajna Dharman Bhagavataniha from 5 years old. In fact, from womb itself, like Prahlad Maharaj. His mother was listening to Narad Muni and he became devotee. He was in the womb only, not even 5 years old. He himself said Kaumara Acharit Prajna, but he himself became a devotee in the womb of his mother. So in the womb itself, one has to become Krishna conscious. The mother must be so this thing, mother and father. Divya Mataji, Prabhuji, people are degrading drastically with passing time. Is this because it's already mentioned in scriptures that Kali Yuga people are misguided, unfortunate, less intelligent? Anyway, at the end, when it's completely degraded, then Kalki Avatar will appear, and that's why it is accelerating, or any other reason, like people's desires. People's desires are there because, and according to people's desire, they are put into that kind of time in this kind of life. Like those who are in heavenly planets, for them also Kali Yuga is going on now, but they don't become irreligious. They just don't get the sacrificial offerings from the people on the earth. But otherwise, they are still devotees. But here, so one can live in Kali Yuga and be still, not affected by this if one is in the heavenly planets, for example. But we are put here in Kali Yuga because our desires were perverted. Our desires were like this, less intelligent, this and that. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so much merciful, he is coming here and elevating us. But the rest of the people, they have this kind of desires, and that's why they put in Kali Yuga, and here they degrade. Then Divya S again. As per 5.5.18 Bhagavatam, one who cannot deliver dependence from repeated birth and death cannot become parent or spiritual master. Does this deliverance means immediate deliverance in that particular life or of the dependent? For example, Bharat Maharaj, son of Shakuntala and Dushyant, was liberated in his next to next life. Basically, one has to train his kid as much as possible in Krishna consciousness. Whether the child becomes a devotee or not, may not be completely dependent on the parents, because many factors play. But as if we keep their association, actually, if we observe, why do people go into becoming non-devotees? Because of association. Karanam gunasangosya. Sangat sanjate kama. The desires are developed according to their association. So, if I want my child to become a devotee and I enroll him in a school and I go get him all the way to university, PhD, and everything, how can I expect? How can I expect a saint to come out of that kind of an education system? I can't. There's a very high chance he will associate with all kind of materialists and all types of women, and life is spoiled. So if I can make an arrangement where he can be with devotees, then that is where what he will. That is what will benefit the child. So there has to be active steps taken. So despite all of that, if like Maharaj Anga Maharaj, he got a son Vena, who was a complete rascal. But Anga Maharaj tried all his best to educate his son. But his wife was a daughter of death personified, and then he got all the bad qualities because of that, and he could not save his child. So does that mean Anga Maharaj became this thing, sinful person? No. He went back to Godhead. Because he tried his best, but it couldn't work out. So it may happen like that. Like Kashyapa Muni. He gave birth to Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. But he's not, he's one of the great rishis of the universe. So he's not sinful because of that. So of course that is the plan of the Lord. That's another thing. But one has to try one's best. So whether it's immediate liberation, it all depends. See, even if I get initiated, forget about father and mother, even if I get initiated by a bona fide spiritual master, still there is no guarantee that I will be liberated in this life. It all depends on how seriously I take to it. If the spiritual master gives me all the program of how to go back to Godhead, and if I don't execute on it, then who's to be blamed? Not the guru, it's the disciple. So these are favorable circumstances. They are not guarantees though. So one has to work like spiritual master. He will always instruct the disciple to go back to Godhead. But if the disciple, despite all those instructions, he does not make it, the spiritual master is not punished for that. Like Prabhupada, you see, he initiated so many, and many of them are falling down. Does that mean Prabhupada, he cannot become guru because his disciples are falling? No, he is giving the right path. Whether they are following or not, that's up to them. That's their individuality. That's their individual freedom of choice. Just like Krishna cannot be blamed for our misuse of our independence and coming into this world and suffering here. Yes, he is our leader. Yes, but we have chosen to disobey, so we have come here. Similarly, that for somebody else's problem, I won't be punished. But did I do my due diligence? That's what matters. Did Prabhupada do his due diligence? Yes. So he is not going to be punished. So our due diligence should be made. So if we did not endeavor enough, then yes, we will be punished accordingly to the degree of our departure from such adherence. Like a camel slowly come in and throw the owner out. Yeah, there is a story of a camel in a tent. So the Bedouin has pitched up a tent because the Bedouins are all nomads. So they go on these camels and then in the night they park the camels and then they pitch up tents and then they stay in the tents. So this camel was feeling very cold because in the desert it's very hot in the day but very cold in the night. He was feeling very cold and he wanted some warmth. So he asked the owner, "Can I put one leg inside the?" I mean, it's an allegorical story, but so the camel said, he said, "I want to just put one leg inside. I just want to get some warmth." Okay, fine, you can put it. 3 legs are, two. Can I put another leg? 2 legs. Okay, put. Well, the other 2 legs. Then okay, I will switch legs. Okay, then these 2 and then these 2 out and these 2 in. Then these 2 out and these 2 in. After some time, Third leg. Can I put third leg? Okay. Out of compassion, okay, you put inside the tent. And after that, fourth leg, and then the camel throws the owner out, and he stays in the tent. So, I mean, if you can give them a little chance, these demoniac guys, they will come. One thing, just one thing. And after that one thing, just another thing, until you will be a totally different thing. Nothing resembling a human society at all. You know. Then how did previous generations survive that? You mean puberty and all that? Yeah, of course. It's a natural thing. That's all. Divya Mataji, Prabhu, why do people have these kinds of desires which leads to severe suffering? Also, one more doubt here. Whatever sins mentioned in Bhagavatam, there can be only that many number of sins for which Yamaraj has already decided punishments. They are unlimited, like the never-ending desires. These sins might not be new to Yamaraj as they might have happened in previous Kali Yuga also. Yeah, I mean there are many lists of punishments but if you see, Shukadeva Goswami was listing down all those punishments and all that, but Parikshit Maharaj stopped him. He said, enough, this is too painful for me to hear. He did not like, oh wow, oh that's good, they're suffering all this. Oh, that's a cool punishment. No, yes, they should be punished, rascals. And no, he was not thinking like what he was concerned. He said, please stop. I don't want to listen to this anymore. Please tell me how a person can be delivered from all this. And that's where the 6th canto starts. The verses that I showed you is from the last chapter of the 5th canto. I'll give you some context. See, last chapter, description of the hellish planets. Now, here, as he was explaining all these hellish planets, one by one, everything, and he said, you see, my dear King Parikshit, in the province of Yamaraj, there are hundreds and thousands of hellish planets. The impious people, they all go there. Those who are pious, however, enter in other planetary systems, namely the planets of demigods. Nevertheless, both the pious and impious are again brought to the earth after the results of their pious or impious acts are exhausted. So, then finally, it comes to the stage where he was explaining all these things. He gave a summary, but this Parikshit Maharaj's attention, he did not want to know more. He said, Maharaj Parikshit says, oh my lord, Shukadeva Goswami, you have already described in the 2nd canto the path of liberation, Nivritti Marga. By following that path, one is certainly elevated gradually to the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka, from which one is promoted to the spiritual world along with Lord Brahma. Thus, one's repetition of birth and death in the material world ceases. So, he wanted to talk about solution now. I've heard enough of the problem. This is too bad. I can't imagine people suffering like that in hell. How to save them? What is the path? Then you see, you have also described the varieties of hellish life that result from impious activities, and you have described the first Manvantara, which was presided over by the Swayambhu Manu, the son of Lord Brahma. So he said, you have told all these things. You have described the dynasties. You have mentioned so many things. Now, O greatly fortunate one, an opulent Shukadeva Goswami, now kindly tell me how human beings may be saved from having to enter hellish conditions in which they suffer terrible pains. How can they be saved? This is when the chanting, as prayaschitta is useless, and all this comes here. I do some sin and then I do some atonement, prayaschitta, and then again I do sin. What is the point of all these things? The heart is not being cleansed, and I will go to hell again. Then chanting of the holy name is the answer that Shukadeva Goswami gives, and he gives the example of Ajamil, how his chanting saved him from heinous sins, horrible sins that he committed. Illicit sex, gambling, meat eating, intoxication, everything he did as a son of a Brahmana. So that is the whole flow of that conversation. So Maharaj Parikshit said, enough, I want to know how they can be saved. There is much more variety, but Garuda Puran has more variety, but Lord, due to immense mercy, made Bharat Maharaj conscious go higher in 3 consecutive births. I mean, it's to show us also. I mean, who can narrate such a story that a man became a deer and then he became another man again? Who is witnessing all this journey? After death, who can see how is being the story is being? Only the Paramatma will know, right? So, Vyasadeva is incarnation of Krishna himself. So, these recorded histories are there. Only Paramatma can tell something like this. So, that's why Krishna Veda Purana. What is that? Maya Mugdha Jiver Hoy Svata Krishna Gyan Jiver Kripaya Koilo Krishna Veda Purana. So that's why Krishna gave all this Veda Purana in the form of Vyasadeva. He gave all these things so that to awaken our, awaken the souls to proper intelligence, proper Krishna consciousness. Alright, so I'll stop here. Thank you all very much for attending. And we have a very, very big project, the temple building project. We have just today, we have formally entered into this deal, property deal. So it's going to be very, very, very big mammoth project. And we need the blessings of all Vaishnavas and also all the devotees, especially those who are in Singapore. They have to work hard now to collect, to engage Lakshmi in Narayan Seva, Krishna Seva. So just like Ram Navami just passed, and all the Vanaras were throwing stones to build that. First of all, there was a big search party for Mother Sita. So we should have our own search party for Mother Sita in the form of Lakshmi, money, for the service of the Lord Krishna. So the Vanaras were throwing stones according to their capacities, and Hanuman was throwing the biggest stones to build a bridge. So we have a huge bridge to cross, a huge bridge to even build and then cross. We need to raise many millions of dollars in 1 year. So we need big boulders to build that bridge, and we need big donations, contributions from devotees and devotees asking others, and it is a huge project. So we've just signed that. We just entered into the deal today, formally. The negotiations were going on all this while, but now today is the formal entry into the deal. So I do not know how many more classes I will be able to do and on what frequency I can do. I'm completely not sure because this is going to take a lot of our time. So that's why today I just wanted to do it. I don't know how the near future is going to be with our services all filled up. So thank you all very much. What is this? Some other question. Path of light. People dying never return back. Is this destination a spiritual world? Yeah, that's true. Spiritual world. So alright, I think we'll stop here. Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Anantapuri Vaishnava Vrind ki Jai. Singapore Temple Building Project ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.